This is a solution to problem 2.4.5, a homework problem in week 2 of Math 470. This problem asks us to prove that there are no integers whose square is equal to 2. In other words, that the square root of 2 is not an integer. This is not too hard to see. What is a lot more difficult, which we can do later, is to also show that the square root of 2 is not a rational number. In other words, there are no fractions that can square to 2. That's a lot harder. I've come up with 2 proofs for this. Both of the proofs are relatively simple. Maybe I'm missing something. If you see something wrong with these 2 proofs, please email me, and I would be very grateful. My email address is on the last slide of this presentation. So here's one fancy proof by induction. Let capital A be the set of natural numbers whose square is greater than 2. Well, A does not include the number 1, but if we can show that A includes every other number, then that means that no natural number squares to 2. We can do that by induction. N equals 2. 2 squared is 4. That's more than 2. Now, if n squared is more than 2, this is the inductive step, then n plus 1 squared is even higher. So n plus 1 squared is also greater than 2. That finishes the induction. In other words, all numbers 2 and higher squared to greater than 2, n equals 1 squares to less than 2. Obviously, 0 is not going to work in terms of squaring to 2, and none of the negative numbers will work either, because the squares of the negatives are the same as the squares of the positives. So this quick proof shows that none of the positive integers, or 0, or negative integers square to 2, so no integer squares to 2. That was kind of a fancy proof. Let's look at another one. Again, we want to show that no natural numbers will work. Obviously, n equals 1. Doesn't work. 1 squared is 1. It's not 2. If n is greater than 1, then it's equal to m plus 1. It's 1 more than some other natural number. When we square m plus 1, we get something that's at least 1 plus 1 plus 1. Because m squared is more than 1, 2m is more than 1, and 1 is equal to 1. That means if n is greater than 1, then n squared is more than 2. In other words, it can never be equal to 2. So in the same way, since no natural numbers will square to 2, 0 doesn't square to 2, and the negative numbers square to the same as the positive ones, none of the integers will square to 2. A tricky part about these problems is that we can only use results that we've proved. A lot of results might seem obvious, but if we haven't proven them yet, then we can't use them. This problem seems to be pretty simple to me. maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm using something that we haven't proved yet. If you see a problem, please email me. My email address is d.sze@snhu.edu.